Hello, and welcome to another Rant Rave review. I'm going to be ranting about, well, raving and then ranting about Trollhunters on Netflix and Legend of Korra. And I chose these two together because I feel like both of them were like ruined by their endings. And okay, I will also say it's been a long time since I've seen both of these. So hopefully they'll keep it a little brief. Let's do the positives first. Trollhunters, I friggin' loved. If you haven't seen the first two seasons, and you don't mind being disappointed by third seasons, watch them. They're so good. Like, beautiful characters, amazing world building, such a fun premise, on-spot comedy, great voice acting, like, just fun. Such a fun show, so original. The premise, if you haven't seen it, is like, okay, so everyone knows, like, trolls live under bridges, and they turn to stone in the daylight, okay? And there's this kid, I think it's Arcadia? I don't know. It's California. This kid, I think, coming on, I don't know. Anyway, this kid and his friends discover that, like, trolls still exist, and there's, like, actually, like, a portal-ish to this, like, troll realm under one of their bridges. In a like, what are they called? Like a cement reservoir. It's really cute. Anyway, and there's, like, this whole troll society, and they're mostly good, but there's this, like, super evil, like, troll warlord who's been, like, banished via this magical ancient bridge, and these, like, changelings, basically, who are trolls who can take the form of people, are trying to bring him back by gathering the pieces of this bridge and making that portal under it to get him out. And I forget, again, I haven't seen it in a really long time, but there's some magic item that, like, chooses, like, the troll hunter, who's usually a troll who's, like, supposed to, like, protect everything. And it ends up, like, choosing this kid, and he's, like, the troll hunter, and stuff ensues. And it's really interesting. I totally dug it. I was like, good. And then the third season happened. And I don't understand why it failed so hard, because the Netflix show, which you'd think would have less oversight and needing to cram things into a certain amount of episodes, and yet it felt super rushed. But the worst part was, okay, so the whole beginning is like this human child is chosen as the troll hunter. And you're like, that's really weird, because troll hunters are supposed to, like, he doesn't hunt trolls, he's supposed to be a troll. And it's, like, super weird that, like, he's a human and he's weak, and some of the trolls are like, just a puny little human, bleh. And, like, he has to earn their respect slowly, and he's a human, and humanity's really important, and he's a human. Did I mention he's a human and humanity's important? It's kind of the entire theme. Plus, there's another character, really cool character, oh my gosh, I think his name is Strickland. He's one of the, I think it's a spoiler, but I'm gonna say it anyway. He is a changeling, so he, like, looks like a human, but he's secretly a troll, and he can, like, change forms. And it's so rad, because, it's such good world building. So the way changelings work, okay, in, like, actual mythology, changelings are, like, a fairy, like, took your child and, like, put a fairy child in its place, and then, I don't know, profit? Like, I've never understood why they do this. But anyway, in this thing, same thing, like, the trolls will take, like, a troll baby who, like, knows what its mission is. I think they were created by that, like, warlord troll, and exchange it with a human baby, and the human baby, like, doesn't grow old. It just stays a baby in the troll world, in this, like, nursery, and then, like, the troll changeling child will, like, grow up knowing it's supposed to, like, do this mission. And so Strickland is one of these people, and he's, like, super evil and super tricky and super cool and schemy and awesome. And, like, and I'll just, I don't want to spoil too much, because it's kind of good. Let's just say that there's, like, a certain point where, like, he begins to, like, have, like, more of a connection to some of the human characters, and you're like, well, that kind of stinks for him, because, like, because we find out that if you rescue a baby, like, a human baby, and take it out of the troll world, that changeling, like, turns to their troll, like, form and cannot turn back into their human form. So for him, you're like, it kind of stinks, because, like, you really want his baby to be rescued, but, like, it's kind of a drag for him, like, if he's becoming more, like, okay with living in the human world. And it's really like parallelism. I love parallelism. It's one of my favorite things in fiction. And Trollhunter had it, where it's like this good character and this bad character and like humanity. Like, humanity's important. Maybe humanity is important. Well, then the third season comes in. It's like a ton of bricks. Oh, also, in the second season, I think, they were like teasing that Morgana Le Fay, am I insane? I haven't seen it for years. I'm going to say Morgana Le Fay, like, is this like witch sorceress who's like obviously scheming and doing some devious stuff. And like she shows up later and schemes and does some devious stuff. And in the third season, they just completely like solved. I mean, like, she was there for like 2 seconds. Okay. Like, they totally should have done more with her. Excuse me. And then they also deal with the head honcho like way too fast. I was like, that was so anticlimactic. But the worst part of all is that, and I'm going to spoil it because it's like garbage trash and you can write your own ending if you want. So Merlin is also a character. He is the one who made like is it a sword? I don't know. It's some device or watch. I don't know. It's some device that chooses the human kid as the troll hunter, and Merlin made it. And then Merlin like shows up and he's like, the only way for you to like beat the troll dude is like become a troll. I have this like hideous like potion I made. If you submerge your body in it, you'll become a troll. Which is like a real drag because he has like a human girlfriend and a human mom and stuff, and he's like a human. And there's this really dramatic scene where he like pours the goop or whatever like in the bathtub, and he's like thinking about getting into it. It's really dramatic, and you're like, and he freaking gets in, he flipping turns into a troll, and he can't turn back. And I'm like, did you not watch your own movie? Like, who made this answer? Friggin' Guillermo del Toro, the furry who is really into like monster boys having sex with ladies. You've seen the Fish movie or heard of it. Yeah, he becomes a troll because Guillermo del Toro has a fetish for monsters. And I was like, excuse you? Like, A, that's not how you use a dramatic scene. Like, if you're gonna like build up to it, it should be like he walks out of the bathroom, he's still a human, he's like, I can't do this. And B, like the entire theme of the story, the most important thing, the theme, was about like how humanity is important and not a weakness. And he should have been like, sorry, Merlin, like, I'm gonna fight him on my own. And then like something awesome should have happened. I don't know what, but it was so bad. And it like ruined the show for me. I'm like, I will not go back and rewatch it because the ending was awful. And I feel like a bad ending is terrible. Sorry, I'm like sitting on my knees like a weirdo and it's hurting. No, because if you have a bad beginning, you can get over it. Like, there's plenty of books that have like very like fail, like I feel like this could be a little shorter. Lord of the Rings. Honestly, I didn't even start reading Harry Potter because I hated the first few chapters. They were all Dursleys. I had to watch the movie first, and then I was like, oh, I'm hooked. Like, read all the rest. You can have a bad beginning, but a bad ending, it like ruins the story. There's a bad taste in your mouth. You're like, what was the point? He's a troll now. Why? Because humans aren't strong enough to fight trolls, I guess. Like, I don't know. Doesn't matter. It's all in the past. So, what about Legend of Korra? You can watch a million, billion, zillion, like, criticisms of Legend of Korra on YouTube, and people have many, many, many problems with them. And I have some of the same problems, but not some of the same problems. For example, like, some people really didn't dig the whole, like, going from, like, whatever time period Avatar's supposed to be in to, like, the 20s. They didn't think it made sense and all this stuff. I loved it. Any time we're like Asia in the 20s, I'm like, sign me up. I am there. Yes. I love that time period. It's so cool. Whether it's like Miracle by Jackie Chan or like, what is that era called? There's some era that's like the 10s to the 20s in Japan, and it has the most beautiful fashion ever. I love Asia 20s. Do it. So I liked Legend of Korra. I was so on board. I was like, yes, sign me up. Yeah, this is cool. I didn't care for her as a character. I don't hate her as much as some people do, but I was like, she's kind of bland. Like, I honestly wish that, and this is a weird wish, I honestly wish that it had been the Avatar universe with that setting and that city with, like, other characters, and you just have this, like, Avatar Korra who's, like, this crazy person that you hear about periodically. and maybe she could show up once or twice to like blow something up because she's crazy. Like I would have been all down with that, but as a main character, like she's okay. She's not great, but whatever. The first season, I was pretty okay with. I do think they rushed the ending, but to be fair to the writers, they didn't know they were getting another season. They thought that was it. Where I'm like, okay, I can see you like fudging the numbers, but again, like there's definitely some problems. Like it was way too fast for her to get her powers back. There should have been some other means to it. Like for example, like you could have just had Katara unbloodbend it. And again, like that's not a cop-out because all the first few episodes we don't know it's bloodbending. We think he can just take people's powers away, and then we're like, oh, it's bloodbending. Like, yeah. I don't have a problem with the first season very much. I mean, I could nitpick, but I'm not gonna. The second season was like a real, like, parts I loved and parts I hated. Is it Varric? Is he the like crazy businessman? I loved him so much. I was like, what a great character. Like 10 out of 10. I feel like the villain of that season was a total waste. How can I put this? He should have been a true believer, but he was not. He pretended to be a true believer, and this whole like we have to have this kind of relationship with the spirits. But then he was like, haha, lol, just kidding. I want to be like super powerful. And I'm like, that's not interesting to me. That's my thing. I feel like their villains kind of not good throughout the series. I was like, not feeling it. Again, like he should have been a true believer, like a crazy religious zealot. That would have been really rad. Especially because he's from the Water Tribe. And I'm like, that's like really cool. Ow, head hurting. Now I'm gonna get back on my knees like a weirdo. Okay. Seiza style. Anyway, so yeah. Second season, I think everyone has problems with it. Like it just felt weird. And then it had a big paprika fight at the end. I've never seen anyone on the internet say this, but I was shocked that I hadn't seen it. The end fight is literally what happens in Paprika the movie. You heard it here first. Anyway, whatever. Second season, we can overlook that because it introduced Varric, who's amazing. And then the third season was so good, okay? Like, it was so good. I was like, holy cow. Like, the villain has, like, a really interesting motivation. Also, there's airbenders now. What? Also, like, Varric is still here and he's amazing. Still, thank you. And the end of that season was so cool. Because, again, like, oh, that's why people hate the second season, by the way. The stupid, and I will say this, it kind of relates to Trollhunter. Sorry, stream of consciousness. The whole stupid backstory about how the Avatar became the Avatar, which completely negates, like, tons of stuff that they established in Last Airbender. Like, everyone knows that the people who, like, learned the elements, like, learned them from, like, spirits or creatures. And that one, it's like, no, they just, like, had them maybe, and the Avatar, like, has, like, a kite that taught it stuff, and I was like, like, I don't think anyone likes the stupid, what is his name? Juan? The first Avatar? I don't think anyone likes that. Like, I don't even know if the writers like that, but yeah, no, do not. It's gross. Pretend it didn't happen. But yeah, it does, it's like, here's, like, the theme in spiritualism, just kidding, like, black and white, the end, and I'm like, ew. Oh, that was the other thing. Okay, this is why it's a rant. That's the excuse I use when I go crazy. With the ending fight with the religious zealot, gigantic guy, and Korra is, like, broken off from her other Avatar spirits, like, and we have, if you're gonna go ahead and go with the stupid idea that the Avatar got her, like, spirit from this, like, yin-yang, white, good creature, remember, like, in the first Avatar, how you had that episode with the panda spirit, and you don't know it's a panda because it's terrifying, because it's the wrathful form of that spirit, which is a whole thing in, like, Asian, like, understanding of, like, spirits, like, wrathful form, like, peaceful form, all the stuff. Remember that? Remember how you can go to the Avatar state and go terrifying? How rad would it have been? How rad would it have been if she learns about this, like, you know, the good spirit and the evil spirit, like, law and chaos, yada, yada, and she, like, gets broken from her, like, Avatar self, and she can't access that, what is it called? There's, like, Vatu and some other, I don't know what their names are, I'm going to say white kite and black kite. she can't access White Kite anymore. How rad would it have been if instead of like stupid religious guy like doing his stupid thing with a Black Kite, he could be doing whatever villainous thing that's not a paprika fight. What if she like is angry, like legitimately and wrathful that he's doing this stuff and accesses the Avatar state, and you're like, what? And you're like, yeah, that's like the Black Kite, because they're actually like one and the same, and like wrath and chaos like isn't evil. Like sometimes you need anger and rage, and that would like reconnect her. Wouldn't that be rad? Yeah, it would. Anyway, let's rant. Okay, ranting done. Raving! The 3rd season was so good. And again, I have issues with some of it. I don't care for all of the characters, but like friggin', it's so good. It was really cool. And like the whole like poisoning the Avatar to like kill the Avatar so there could be no more Avatar, amazing. And what I loved is, and here's the thing, I think they should have stopped at the end of the 3rd season exactly as it was. And here's why. Korra's character arc. So in the 1st season, she's this like total hothead lunatic who like doesn't understand like what the Avatar is supposed to be. She's basically like, I'm the Avatar, you gotta deal with it, blah, blah, blowing stuff up. But she like totally doesn't get, like, that's not what the Avatar is. The Avatar is not like a super powered person. Like the Avatar is meant to connect the human and the spirit worlds. Like that's your purpose. The end. And she like doesn't really learn that in the 1st season. She basically like learns to respect like airbending and like calm and breathing. Sorry, I heard a weird bang out. I'm hearing weird bangs outside. It's probably javelinas. I have like javelinas in my neighborhood, and they like hang out and have parties. Anyway, the 2nd season. Not much happens with her arc, but it's established, like, that, like, she, like, is kind of okay with war, but then she's like, meh, and then she, like, breaks with the Avatar, like, she's not the Avatar anymore, and you're like, yikes, like, her whole identity in the first one was like, I'm the Avatar, you have to deal with it, and now she's not, like, connected to them anymore, like, is she not the Avatar? Like, what an interesting, like, thing to deal with. And then the 3rd one, like, once she reconnects, like, the spirit, I think that's when she reconnects the spirit world, am I right? And yeah, duh, that's why people can airbend again. And she's finding all these little airbenders who, like, don't know what the heck they're doing, and they get brought to the air temple, like, and she, like, you know, she's not doing all of this, but she's, like, learning about it, and then, I forget what that guy is, he, like, tried, the Black Lotus? Is that the Black Lotus is trying to kill her? I think it is. Yeah, which is so cool. Like, Black Lotus, Red Lotus, oh my gosh. But yeah, and he, like, tries to kill her for being the Avatar, like, and this is when she's, like, trying to, like, bring, like, plus he's an evil airbender, like, how cool is that? And interesting. But yeah, she's, like, trying to bring the air, like, people, like, together, and in the final, like, she almost gets poisoned for, like, being the Avatar, and then at the end, like, I love that scene, where, like, she's, like, freaking crippled from, like, being poisoned, and, like, basically has no powers left. Like, not only does she have no connection to her old spirits, like, she's also, like, powerless, like, physically. But they're in, I'm gonna cry. It's such a good scene. Anyway, this is why it's a stupid Rant Rave review. And then she's in the air temple with, like, this is so stupid. I'm crying on YouTube. She's in the air temple with, like, resurrected airbenders, and they do that ceremony with the wind and the incense and the bells, which is so beautiful and such good world building. And it's like that ceremony hasn't been done for probably, like, hundreds of years. And now it can be done because she, like, brought them back. And it's, like, such a beautiful scene. And even though, like, she cries at the end, it's, like, such a beautiful place. This is me crying. Like, that's how beautiful it is. And it's beautiful because it's, like, there's a culture that's, like, renewed. And it's a culture that stands for peace. And it's, like, soft. And it's, like, even though she's, like, broken, like, she really is the Avatar now. Because she didn't have to, like, punch somebody. And she didn't have to, like, have all these, like, physical powers or, like, spiritual powers. Like, her purpose was to bring, like, the spiritual world, like, and the human world together. And, like, that's why there's airbenders now. And, like, that's the victory. And I'm stupid, like, crying like an idiot. Oh my gosh. Such a dork. It's so beautiful. And I remember, like, I was, like, in love with that scene. It was so good. And so beautiful. And I really think you could have ended the series on that because it's, like, that's her character arc. Like, she fulfilled who she is supposed to be. Like, yes, to her own sacrifice, but that's like the whole point of the Avatar. Like, remember in the first series when Aang is like, I don't want to kill the Fire Lord, and she's like, but like your duty is to the world. Like that's it. And fun fact, apparently, like that was in the plans originally. Like I've heard that like the plans were like he's supposed to kill the Fire Lord. And Nick was like, don't do that. Let's have random lion turtles. Lion turtles ruin everything. Anyway, it's a rumor. I don't know if that's actually true, but anyway, that would have been the coolest scene to end on. I'd be like, wow, like good show. Unfortunately, we had to have a freaking fourth season, which was like garbage trash. I'm sorry. And again, like I'm not the first person to like rant about how bad that season is. But I'm going to rant about how bad that season is and why I personally think that season is bad. So, first of all, Kuvira. They like literally like, threw her name at the end of the third season being like, yeah, that way like she's introduced. And I'm like, why not make her a character in the third season? If you know that you're going to get a fourth season, and they did at this point, why not make Kuvira like a very main player in the third season, even a likable character? Like, why not make her someone who we know and recognize? So that in the fourth season, when it starts, and you're like, man, Kuvira's running around like a friggin' warlord, you'd be like, who knew? What? Excuse you? Kuvira? Like, our Kuvira? That would have been neat, okay? Like, I do not like how she was handled. I don't like how she was introduced. I like that she has a good motivation, except it's a thing that happens a lot in a lot of stories where that like you have a really awesome villain and a really cool motivation, and then you're like, haha, just kidding, they're just evil, which is what they did with the second season's villain, and then they did with Kuvira, where like she has this whole thing about like order and law and like you have to like control, and then when they like kidnap her friggin' like fiance and they're like, ooh, like we're gonna like kill him if you keep stopping. She's like, okay, like it's like how much cooler would it have been if she was like, okay, like I won't, and she like turns around or something, and then they'd be like, holy cow, are we the villains? Like we just like threatened a man, and she like, but no, of course she's evil, and we'll of course like throw him away. And I'm like, really? Like it doesn't make any sense to her character, but okay. I mean, she doesn't have much of a character, but like the one thing she had was like being fiancés with that dude. Okay, but that's not even the beginning of the problems with season 3. So Korra's like arc. Okay, this is gonna sound like the meanest sentence anyone's ever said, but like I'm kind of like done with PTSD. I get it. People have it. It's an important thing to talk about, but like it's overdone in fiction. Not every person who goes through a traumatic experience has PTSD. And I especially think that like that show handled it like too quickly and in like a dumb way. Like, I don't know. I didn't exactly have PTSD, but she kind of did. And like, and again, I'm like, she's freaking poisoned. I feel like she shouldn't be able to move. Like, it'd be way cooler if she was like crippled throughout the entire season. Like, that would be neat. But no. And then, is that the season when I had to throw Toph in for fan service? Oh, the literal worst. I was just like, do not, like, no, keep her out of here. Please don't ruin, no. Like, they made Toph, like, kind of never grow up. I was like, I feel like she would become, like, a mature person eventually. No, she's always just running off doing her own thing like a savage. And I'm like, okay. I mean, what? Because characters can't grow up because it's fan service, I guess. Like, that was bad. What else? Oh, like, Korrasami, like, and here's the thing, because, like, some people are like, there's, like, no evidence for this, and then there's some people who are like, I could see it all along, and I'm like, yeah, because they spoon-fed it to you. They're like, oh my gosh, these girls are talking about their hair together. I mean, if girls talk about chocolate together, they're sisters, but if they talk about, like, hair together, they're lesbians. Like, that's apparently how it works in, like, TV land. But no, like, it was, like, shoved in. It was like, these people are, like, together now, and I'm like, but they don't have anything in common. Except for, like, both once having a crush on that one dude who also wasn't interesting and doesn't need to be in the show. What's his name? You know, the firebender. He's not interesting. I'm sorry. Like, I know some people like that character, but I'm like, he's just... And it's so funny, too, because it's like, some people are like, you can't criticize, like, Korrasami. And I'm like, no, I criticize all the romance in Legend of Korra. It was all ham-fisted. Not one, like, relationship was handled with any kind of, like, tact or, like, believability. I'm like, I hated that they wanted to ship Korra and what's-his-face in the first season. I hated that they wanted to ship, maybe, or didn't ship, I don't know. I actually kind of liked that they broke up in the second season. I was like, oh, fair, nice. And then the last season, they friggin' had more chemistry than Korra, and I was like, really? Like, are you guys just bad at writing romance? They are! Do you know how they're bad at writing romance? They don't even know when they're good at it. That's how bad they are. Varric and, I want to say Julie, but that is not her name. His, like, secretary lady. Like, from the moment, the first scene they're in, I'm like, I ship it. I ship it hard. Like, yeah. And the entire second season and third season, I'm like, good, yes, love, romance. And apparently, these idiot friggin' writers were like, and we thought, like, maybe we should get them together. I'm like, wait, you thought maybe you should after the second season? You mean that wasn't planned from the second season? Like, they were clearly, like, are you, like, this bad at writing romance that you can't even tell these characters have, like, awesome chemistry? It hurts. Oh, gosh. Yeah. No. What else? I hated that. And I hated their Western wedding. What do I mean? Well, okay, Varric is a waterbender, and we know from Avatar The Last Airbender, we are told that, like, waterbenders give, like, a necklace to their, like, betrothed. Like, that's their thing in their culture. And they probably have some kind of wedding that doesn't resemble, like, your typical, like, Western modern wedding. Just kidding! He gives her a ring! And they have, like, a, like, basically stereotypical, like, Western wedding. And I was like, world building? What's that? We don't have it anymore. Whoops. We forgot all these things that we established and also how to write, like, an interesting fantasy series set in, like, an Asian setting. Whoopsie. So bad. Like, the worst. Like, the worst. Oh my gosh. That was bad. I feel like there was more stuff that was bad. Kuvira was just, they handled it, like, super poorly and it wasn't interesting. Anything else? I don't know. I just kind of felt that, like, all of it was kind of just lame. Like, and that was the thing. It kind of, like, died with a whimper, whereas the third season died with this, like, perfect, like, poignant moment. Like, the fourth season was like, the portals are open and people are mad and Kuvira's a meanie, I guess, and now she's done. What's her face's dad died. Asami's dad. I mean, you know, but she's not too broken up about it. And the end. Really? Like, that's how you're gonna end your show? Like, nothing even happened. Like, I felt like the fourth season was just, like, slapped on, but it wasn't because it was planned after the third season. Like, it kind of ruined the show, honestly. It was so bad, and every part of it was bad. Like, I can't even think of, like, a thing from the fourth season that I legitimately liked. I'm, like, honestly trying to think, and I'm like, no. Like, I can't think of a single thing from the fourth season that was done well. And, yeah, like, it just shouldn't have been. It just shouldn't have happened. Holy cow, I ranted for half an hour. I'm so sorry. I got ahead of myself. I have strong feelings. The only feelings I have are strong. But yeah, so that's my, like, note of, like, don't do this, authors. If you're a writer out there, please don't ruin, like, the end of your story. Like, it's so important. And you should, and if you don't have a good ending, sit on it and wait. Not to toot my own horn, book 3, I rewrote that sucker 4.5 times before I was finished. I was like, it is not perfect yet. It is not perfect yet. It's not perfect yet, but now it's perfect, okay? Like, you gotta make the ending great. You can't just, like, phone it in. You absolutely cannot, like, reverse the theme, Trollhunter. Like, what a travesty. Like, what a betrayal. No. You can have a twist ending. You can have, like, something where, like, whoa, I didn't see that coming. But you can't be like, this super important thing, garbage. Get rid of it. It's like, no, but it's important. Yeah, no. Stick the landing. Stick the ending. Don't be Trollhunter or Legend of Korra season 4. Just stop at season 3. Beautiful show. Yeah. So that was my rant. I've, like, been moving all over the place, apparently, in the screen. I hope that you come back for more. See you next time.